Hi. So I'm very excited about this. We, in 2021, have done more globally than we've done probably in the last 4 or 5 years in regards to making sure that we can roll out this technology to enable students to learn faster, retain information longer, and make better decisions. Of course, I can tell you all about that and why this has been so successful, but it's better to hear, I thought, from some highlights from our partners, which I share with you right now, and perhaps provide a little bit of comments as we move through this. Pandemic. We've had this pandemic that has been lingered with us for long, and increasingly, initially when we started the pandemic, everybody kind of was saying that let's wait until this is over. And then very quickly, many understood that this will not be over in a month, not even a year, and now we are entering perhaps the third year. So this is something that stays with us for a long time, and perhaps forever, although it may dissipate, and has transformed education as we know it. And we see that concretely with organizations today. We see that this can actually fast track the learning process and engagement from students. So let's listen in. I will intentionally do it in a way that I'll jump from continent to continent, country to country, and let's see where we start. Why don't we start with a teacher? I think that will be very interesting to hear directly from a teacher how she applied this technology. Let's listen in.
When I first started out in this journey and my first training session, I was nervous. I felt a little intimidated. I have to design these from scratch. Well, first of all, I learned, no, I don't. There's a lot of pre-built things that instructors can alter and modify and make their own. So I felt a little reassured by that. And then once I got involved, I thought, you know what, I think I want to do this myself. It's not hard at all. It's actually a lot easier. And then my mind just kind of raced and I was like, no, yes, of course I'll design, but I can put this right in the hands of the students. And I have always found in my 11 years of teaching that students learn better from each other than they do from any instructor. Something that they can explain to each other, they can say it in ways that they get. And I can explain something 3 or 4 different ways, but if they could start building these themselves, that would be great. And you know what? It's simple enough. There's not an extra special course or degree or certificate you need. It's very user-friendly. And I think that's what impressed me the most, is I see huge applicability across all of our sciences. And as you see here, basically the image is being pulled apart. You're removing the organelles from the cell, and the instructor can single out specific organelles, isolating them from the actual cell. That's going to allow really deep conversation in each area. So the students are not just going to be lectured at with a PowerPoint, from a kind of a static standpoint. In this sense, the students are going to be able to be interactive, especially if they have this module in front of them. They can, use the tools that we've provided to pull apart the organelles while the instructor is discussing. Plus, the instructor also then has the option to pause and implement some of the other really kind of fun tools. Like you see here, this is a quiz. What's on the screen here? This is a mitochondria. So the student cell to maybe use as a scaffolding for student.
Wow, so that's a great story. And Amanda Flack, she's a teacher, a professor at Baker College in Michigan. And keep in mind that this testimonial was done just on EON XR. It's actually the old version of EXR was in the beginning before we released the new technology merged XR and spatial meetings. So very, very exciting. Why don't we stay in US and then we'll jump off to Africa and hear a little bit from a rather newcomer from New Mexico. Let's see, Dr. Monica Torres.
Two areas on the credit side that have really kind of leaped forward to do this work, to start using the XR platform in classrooms, are the College of Education at New Mexico State University and Doñana Community College, one of the branch campuses of the university, of the college that I'm at. And on the non-credit side, for example, we have just started, our person is developing instruction in oh my gosh, commercial driver's license training. Also virtual forklift training, because those are two needs in the regional economy that we have. And so we're trying to get that up and running. We also are working in the area of, we're developing materials in nursing, in exercise physiology, in education. We have some people doing some interesting work in education. Some of them are doing some lessons in bilingual education. We have some folks who work with autism, and they're developing some lessons for autism. And then we also have drafting and construction technologies. That's one of the areas at DACC that's kind of jumping on board right away and moving forward. And then digital media. So we have faculty in all of those areas that are now developing their materials.
Yeah, and it was very exciting to hear directly from Monica about this. And yeah, this is not happening only in the United States. It's actually happening across the world. So why don't we jump to the African continent, the CEO of Honoris United Universities, that has universities in Morocco, in 5 other countries, including the largest country there, which is Nigeria. Let's listen in.
My thoughts is really the reason why we joined the program is that virtual reality, augmented reality, you feel it is the future, is absolutely the future, and the future in learning. You see it in the gaming industry, you see the impact it has, and on the education field, you can just sense it. You can sense it. Now, it's true that maybe a few years back, the barrier to entry was too high because of the hardware you needed, because of also the content that you could get. So I think thanks to what you offer, the barrier to entry has been lowered.
Yeah, so that's fully agreeable. That's what we keep hearing again, and that's our mantra, that we need to make it easy and fast to create, easy and for people that are not programmers. That's been something that we have now emphasized further with the latest release. So from there, let's go back to Canada, or to the North American continent in Canada. And very short comment from Jay Pulley at the University of Toronto.
EON was the first company that we found who had the platform strength and internal support necessary.
Yeah, so it's a longer statement there, but I just cut the part. You know, in the end, you have to have support, and you have to have global support in order to make this work. And it's something we've been focusing not only in the North American continent, but all the way to Middle East and Kuwait. Let's listen in.
I would like to thank EON. Without their passion and their drive, we would never have got this far.
Yes, and we just had a lot of interesting engagements right now in Kuwait. And crisscrossing the world, let's go to Dr. Luz Longworth. She's principal and vice chancellor at the University of the West Indies, open campus with more than 20 campuses throughout Caribbean. Let's listen in.
How this would be so amazing, especially for our environment where our students are far-flung, where resources are limited, where we may have one excellent laboratory in Jamaica, but we don't have one in St. Kitts. But the students can get the same experience and level of learning as they would if they had traveled, 1,000 miles across the region. Or we could link with other universities that have have those labs and also do shared global classrooms. It really is an amazing possibilities, and not just possibilities, because these are realities now. So it's really just to get it done. And I think all educators would be excited about that.
Yeah, so this interview was early in the year, and since then, the university has created lots of applications that are very helpful and useful across the campuses. It's a little bit almost like being an all-you-can-eat buffet, and I could continue, but let's take a few more. Let's move on to Vietnam. I'm right now in Cambodia, so not far away. So let's see what students there are doing.
We are developing classes for lower secondary school students who are between the age of 11 to 14. They are allowed to use their parents' smartphones at home.
Yeah, so interesting. They're using their parents' smartphone. Keep in mind, there are more than 5.4 billion people that have smart devices. So all of those can be users of our technology. And talking about that, let's go to Peter Lamonica in United States.
Students can also use augmented reality using their cell phones or tablets. Each student in a different location, all interacting virtually.
Yeah, so he's using EON technology for many things, including cybersecurity and other things. So this kind of shows a bit of range of what you can do. One of the areas that Romania has looked into this, the largest university, is things like language learning. Let's listen in.
Yes, I think that is the best way. In fact, we have two components here. As you said, is the contextual component, but also I would say the embodied component I mentioned right at the beginning. So you have a very strong connection between the meaning of the word, the sensorial aspects of the word, and action tendencies. So this is, in fact, this is the idea if you want to master language.
Yeah, that's very much true. I mean, I speak 5 or 6 languages, actually 7, but none of them very good, including English. But the way I learned is contextual. And obviously, you cannot visit always the countries, but this technology enables you to do so. Talking about visits, I'm leaving Cambodia tomorrow, and I'm going to fly during this COVID to Slovenia and Croatia. Let's listen in from our partner there, Eric.
Areas on the credit side that have really kind of leaped forward to doing their materials.
That was, I think I pressed the wrong button, wrong link. We'll come back to Eric in a second. For now, I think let's continue with United States, one of our partners there.
EON is a super helpful tool for us to help students to personalize their learning.
Yeah, so he's talking about how easy it is to personalize the learning. It's a clip of a larger interview. And the personalization of the learning and even the specific learning, not only for students, but we are talking in the healthcare sector also for patients, is something that is very exciting. So for that, I will introduce the executive director at CHOC, Children's Hospital of Orange County, that is doing now a multi-million-dollar implementation.
I have some thoughts on this, not being a physician myself, but physician adjacent. One of the most important things is the upkeep of skills. And when you have certain procedures that you may not do frequently, we have a simulation team at CHOC that practices and runs codes so that they can really hone those skills. This is a very important area for being able to create different scenarios. I think most people can relate to the pandemic when many hospitals had to deploy external beds for their hospitals in disaster planning. So it's not that the education doesn't exist, but this is the new landscape, the new format to do it, which again, allows that enhanced visualization and collaboration, hopefully at a lower expense, because what you're describing here is accessible, where you could actually have different regions collaborating. It doesn't require travel. And then again, the ability to hone and practice that competency over and over again, because when you're in a critical situation, our doctors have often described it's like a muscle memory. You just have to have that skill hardwired into you, because when you're in that space, you need to react. And so in medicine, and especially pediatric medicine, again, because you could have a neonate, which could be less than term baby. You could have a 4-year-old, you could have a 10-year-old, or you could have an 18-year-old boy that looks like a man. That is a huge range. And so if you're intubating or doing compressions, those are different ranges of patients.
Very much so. And in fact, we work with medical organizations, academic institutions, to help that experiential component of high training, how you insert a needle, for example, using augmented reality. Let's continue to a place that I couldn't visit this time. It's Egypt, where we have Professor Vale that discussed a little bit of the new trends and how virtual augmented reality can help technical vocational skills.
Now in Egypt, they are moving towards developing and establishing what they call technological universities. Technological universities, those are very equivalent to the community colleges in the US. So those are really dedicated to generate a new breed of high caliber technicians that are engaged in more sophisticated pieces of machinery and automation systems and facilities that they need to operate properly, maintain, things like that. So, I mean, having something like this, I mean, where actually they can really scan realistic facilities and instructors or students themselves start adding the content and then playing with each other it's a new dimension of learning. So this is going to be very useful. We believe that's going to be very useful for the technology college. I think that.
Yeah, I think that too. And not only thinking, I know that Niles University is leading now in Egypt with creating all those kinds of applications. Talking about that, let's go back to Canada, to Mohawk College.
This is a great educational tool. The students always come back and tell me that they've been telling their parents, they've been telling their significant others all about the awesome, fun games that they've been playing in class. You create memories like that, and you're tricking them into learning something completely new.
I wouldn't advise tricking people into learning, but I do think it's contagious. You know, we all have that inhibit willingness and curiosity about learning, and that spans on all continents all the way to Asia. And I think we should just pay a little short visit here to our VIA Innovation Academy in Japan that we started not long ago.
Are so happy about our new partnership with EON Reality.
Yes, not only are we happy to do that, but now we are making inroads in this specific area of education in Japan. Now, last year, where we had situation with COVID was at worst, and it was a care grant. We've been working in Mississippi with Dr. Mary Graham. She's the president of Mississippi Gulf Coast Community Colleges, one of the largest, if not the largest, college with more than 15,000 students. Let's listen in to her.
For so many years, only a few people had the skills to utilize this amazing technology. Over the years, as it's progressed, it's gotten more simple. People aren't intimidated by it. They're not afraid of it. Thus, our EON elite forces of our faculty, we have language arts people using it and math instructors using it who in the past would have said, look, I don't have time to learn that technology. But now they've embraced it because of your KISS methodology. They've embraced it and they see it as a valuable tool. And so what we're saying is we have faculty coming to us rather than us telling them, hey, you need to learn this. They're asking to be a part of that elite force. They want to incorporate it into their classroom. So as I look out in terms of the crystal ball, I see even more simplification because that's kind of the nature of technology. It gets easier and easier and easier as it gets more widespread. And I see that it will become the norm in every classroom, in K through 12, in university, in business and industry. And so I think we're playing a critical role in training people to use this technology so then they can go out and train the mass.
So they can go out and train out the masses, I think was a little shortcut there. But you know, we listened, Dr. Mary, I can tell you that. And this was pre-recorded previous to the release of Merged SR, which has reduced the time to create an XR application with 90% and made it so easy. So my mom, 82, she's using it for her cooking classes. If she can do it, I would say anyone can. So I'm very excited, and I think I totally agree about the dissemination opportunities. Now, I know that many times I am dramatic about this technology because I'm so passionate and excited, but this resonates very much not only with me, but with others, including I will also share the president of LACC, Los Angeles Community College.
This technology is incredible and it is life-changing.
What you said is this technology is incredible. The volume was a little low there, and life-changing. And indeed it is. And now, because of that, we engaged with Mary, Dr. Gallagher, about 2 years ago. And since then, she has not only extended the licenses, but is growing the program very, very quickly. I think I covered quite a lot of ground. I think we should also visit a little bit what's happening in Africa. And this comes from the Central University of Technology in South Africa. Let's listen in.
The Vice Chancellor of the Harare Institute of Technology.
Actually, this is from Harare. Sorry for that.
The XR platform leads to the creation of localized content for remote learning and help us in our post-pandemic academic recovery.
Yeah, so that was from Harare and the Vice Chancellor there. Before we end, I'm not going to have time to cover all. We have so many use cases. We've done, just so you know, during 2021, more than 30 webinars with 1 hour long conversations. These are just snippets from that. But I would like to talk with maybe two more. One is an expert in this technology, Richard Staber, and he's been president for HTC Vive, the aspects of the software, and also John Guerra. John Guerra is, you probably know him or of him. He's an Academy Award winner for movie that you probably all are familiar with, Matrix, that is also now coming in a new edition after more than 20 years. And John was also vice president at Magic Leap, leading the development of the new headset. So those are two industry veterans. We'll start with John and end with Richard. Let's see, John.
I look at it this way: it's like old paradigm universities, YouTube, and whatever comes next. You know, the case for immersive is that it's experiential. These videos are not experiential, but they are interesting and informative to some, but they're not experiential. And there is only one way to really sort of have a memory a fix for a long time is mostly to have an experience.
Yeah, so that's true. We know that using XR, students learn faster, remember better, and make better decisions. We'll go now to Richard. Richard, let's listen in.
It's fascinating how you can leverage the power of everyone to create knowledge, essentially. And I do think that what you're doing here is, you can empower students or teachers or anyone to kind of help annotate the world and explain the world, and maybe also making, as you noted, this kind of personal view of the world, because the space in Seattle is maybe different for you and for me and for the kids. But you could essentially record and store that forever.
Yes. So we end on that high note. Next time we'll hear from Ghana. We'll hear from Dr. Keder that is in Kuwait. We'll hear from Professor Alfred Ngome that is in South Africa, and many, many more. If you think 2021 was exciting, yes, indeed, it was. We released 2 new products, but listen in. I know what's cooking, and 2022, I'm pretty sure will blow everything out of the water. First of all, thank you so much, and keep listening to our YouTube channel where we post this type of testimonials and how people are using the technology almost on a daily basis. Thank you.